Let me try to screen share. Okay. So welcome to Prerona Television Canada. On behalf of Global Academy of Holistic Leadership and Coaching, I would like to welcome you for our session, Leadership Speaker Series. Today we are having 40th episode, and today's our topic is leadership and social influence. As you know that Prerona TV is running from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and also Global Academy of Holistic Leadership is a federal entity and also registered in Ontario and in Alberta. We are very happy that we are continuing this session as a part of our social responsibility to the community, as we know that this is a free session. Many of you can avail this opportunity to learn and upgrade your skill. And so we are very happy and delighted that our regular speaker and trainer, Advocate Ziaur Rahman, is here with us. Let me introduce him very briefly. He is the CEO of IITM, and also he is adjunct faculty professor of IUB. He is a legal practitioner, is a lawyer also, and he has a lot of experience in corporate and academia. So thank you very much, Advocate Ziaur Rahman, for being with us. And you can continue your session. Um, Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Edward Probir Mondol. I hope you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. Good evening in Canada and good morning in Bangladesh and rest of the world. Today is our 40th session, and we have been doing it for quite a bit of time. Today's topic is on leadership and social influence. So we would like to start off by saying that every leader has to have a certain level of command and respect in society. So he or she has to influence the people around him or her. So this session is particularly focused on bringing these traits, the behavioral traits that one can learn or one can grow into one's life. And with that, he or she can actually develop his or her leadership qualities and skills. So let me proceed. I normally start off with a set of quotations. So the first one is by Kevin Close. He says, leadership is a process of social influence which maximizes the efforts of others towards the achievement of a goal. So if I read it backwards, a leader is actually trying to achieve a certain goal. That means he or she is wanting to build an enterprise, wanting to build an organization, or want to build his ideas into the community. So the goal is to get to the ultimate outcome that he or she is thinking at the back of his or her mind. So how does he or she get people to connect with this goal? It is by the influence that he or she creates, the social influence, the community support that is needed for a particular outcome to take place. So it is to get the people lining up with a particular vision and driving the output, so a certain potential and positive output turns out. So a leader's main focus deals with building the community's spirit, getting the influence, all working towards achieving a particular target or a particular goal. So it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. You can't be a leader in a particular environment and then all of a sudden you're you're extricated from that particular environment and you are put into another environment and your leadership will spawn right away. No, you will have a long process of creating these influences, these trust building exercises. So when we talk about social influences, we are also embedding trust, belief, norms, values, etc., with your leadership package. So, in other words, just to give you a clear example, if you are a leader in, say, one organization, and if you are taken out from that organization and you're taken away from that environment into, say, another community, maybe few thousand miles away, and if you are put in that community and if you are expected to perform as brilliantly as you had done previously, it may not be like that. It may be you may be a failure in that community. Why? Because in the first community you had developed a certain sense of perspective. You had developed a community of influencers, meaning people who would be supported by you, had a very strong relationship with leader followership type of uh, capacity and environment. But in this new facility, in a new environment, in a new country, let's say a few thousand miles away, you have not developed any of those tools. You have not developed any of these influencing mechanism. So it will be very hard for you to immediately go in and start performing. So this is the whole crux of the matter. Your influence is not a one-off type of situation. It is an influence that happens, it's a process that happens over time. So this was a quote by Kevin Close. So moving forward, this is by Alan Keith. Leadership is ultimately about creating a way for people to contribute to making something extraordinary happen. So, in order for something extraordinary to happen, one must be equipped to move your community, move your stakeholders, move your people who are subordinate to you to achieve that extraordinary thing. So it is again a process where everybody has to be completely what should I say, some everybody has to be appropriately imbued with the spirit that this is our target, this is our goal, or this is our vision, this is how we need to work, this is our leader who is working tenaciously in a particular direction. So when your leader is working tenaciously with a particular zeal, passion, and energy, so his or her spirit is obviously seen into the open, and people sort of resonate, people connect with his or her perspective. So it is the extraordinary thing to happen, and is the whole process that takes place through the development of leadership. So it's a process of actually an influence that you are creating. Leader does not make you do things unless you are spirited enough to pick up the energy and get to do the right thing. For example, if you're a superstar in a basketball field or a soccer field, your coach is can only do a certain level to you. A certain level of zeal can only be injected to you through your coach. Passionate outcry from the coach can elevate your vision, not elevate your vision, elevate your energy. But the scoring mechanism has to be done by you. You have to actually take responsibility and move forward. So the leadership is about getting you the tools and the wherewithals to actually perform at an acceptable, at a very high level for you to actually develop yourself and the people around you to get to the extraordinary output. So this is an interesting issue. Many people might think that leadership is someone who is helping people do things by picking up each and every point in the process of the growth of that professional. That may happen with certain people because leaders' time is also important. So a leader can maybe pick up a few people from giving them or them little every little bit of influence, guiding them in every single step of the way towards achieving a particular target. But in reality, a leader sometimes dictate a whole population, a whole community, and he or she has no way of getting to the rest of the community. So how does he or she do it? It is by imbuing the spirit. It is by lifting the hope of the community, by lifting the energy level of the people. So it is ultimately about creating and people by contributing extraordinary potential within these people so that an extraordinary output actually takes place. And this is by Alan Keith. The next one is by John Adams. He says, a teacher affects eternity. He can never tell where his influence stops. So when you think of a teacher, you can also think of a leader. So a teacher is also a leader. A teacher teaches, a leader teaches and preaches at the same time. This powerful statement of John Adams is giving a clear perspective as to the fact that somebody who has influenced you stays with you for eternity, for many, many days. So if somebody has taught you of being righteous, somebody who has taught you of being virtuous, somebody who has taught you to be always focusing on perfection, if somebody has taught you these valuable traits in life, this sticks with you all throughout your life. So that is why a leader affects eternity. It's not just a leader teaches you for 1 year, you are in grade 7 or you're in high school, and a teacher comes and tells you certain things, and you sort of like what he or she says, and you are spirited, you feel that this is what should be done, and you get those ideas and values instilled in your own personality, in your own soul, and you run your life accordingly. So that learning, that vision, that particular knowledge or particular wisdom has been um, has been transferred from that teacher onto you, and now you're applying in your entire life. So that's why a teacher's influence goes through eternity, and one can never say that my benefit from that teacher has stopped, or the influence has stopped. So the word influence here is of value. The person who can influence another person, in other words, is a leader to the person on whom the influence was uh, given. So a leader has a very strong influencing factor. These are factors which can shape the character of a human being, shape the vision, shape the perspective, shape the value system of a human being. So one of the most important tool for all leader is to build an influence around him or her so that the other person with whom he or she works can actually get this perspective and apply in his life or her life and run for a better outcome. Moving forward, um, I normally have a leadership definition. So here is one where leadership is the process of social influence in which one person can enlist the aid and support of others in the accomplishment of a common task. This is also a quotation, but I forgot to put the name of the person. But what this quote definition or quotation he's talking about is about social influence, the influence in which one person enlists the aid, the support and aid of the others in the accomplishment of a task. So every leader is out there to achieve a particular task. You can't be a leader and say that I'm a leader, but I don't have any task to accomplish. You can't be a good professional without saying that I have no particular task to achieve in this organization, then you are never going to be a true professional. You will never be a true leader. So as a leader, one of the important issue is always drive towards a task, and your task or accumulation of all these tasks actually defines you of who you are, what you represent, and how you are doing in this organization or in this society. So a combination of achievement of task is represented through your leadership. So if you have a high level of task accomplishment, that means you're not only a performer, you are able to navigate through difficult or orientation and get things done. So when you are doing things, when you're achieving certain targets, how do you do that? You don't do everything yourself. Many of these tasks you have to deal with others, you have to work with others and get people to operate around you, and then you get your achievements, uh, then you get your achievements in achievements done. So these are aided by the support of all the other people. So that is why leadership is an influence. It's a social influence where you are getting the aid of others and support of others, and then accomplishing these tasks. So as a leader, if I were to tell you what is the most important attribute of a leader, I would say not only having a vision, but having the opportunity, having the capability to complete tasks. So the tasks are nothing but small, manageable pieces of outcomes that, if combined, will take you to that higher outcome, higher vision that you want to achieve for your organization or for your society. So moving forward, so leadership and social influence processes. So how does the leadership grow, and how the leadership are connected with your social influence and your influencing processes? First and foremost, status and power are two vital issues which actually dictate your leadership condition. If you don't develop a particular status in the community in which you would like to lead, and if you don't develop a certain sense of power in that community, then you will not be able to convey your vision, convey your ideas to the community. I'm sure many of you had uh, different scenarios in life where you know that you are telling something which is very appropriate, uh, and that everybody should actually follow your perspective, but nobody is paying you much attention. People are sort of listening to you, but they're getting the information from one ear and the information is coming out from the other ear. There is no retention of your thought, but you're feeling very confident that if this organization or this community takes your perspective, then the problem or certain opportunity will actually come about, or you will be able to make a certain outcome, but nobody's listening. So why isn't that happening? It is particularly connected with these two issues. One is status and one is power. So as a human being, as a professional, as a leader, you have to create these influencing process of status and power in the community. And with these two well entrenched, then people will sort of connect with you, people will respond to you, people will pay attention to what you're saying. And then if you are sufficiently communicative, and if you have particular charisma and capacity to influence others, then people will quickly pick up on your perspective and move with your particular thought process. And that's how you will actually be in the leadership role. The other component is leadership itself. Your behavioral traits as a leader will be an influencing factor in society for people to connect and respond to. So leadership perspective and the traits of a leader you must develop. And these are connected with all the other issues, but very particular issue is your own leadership qualities and attributes. Then comes the issue of followership. Very important in today's literature, in management literature on leadership and followership, things are slowly changing, and the new literature is talking about leadership followership conundrum, or the process where all leaders have to be followers at certain time. The 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 heroic, the superman culture, or the perspective of leader will pave the path for everyone to follow, is no longer being addressed from a theoretical perspective. They are suggesting these days that every leader has to go through certain level of followership. So a leader can be a follower at times and a leader at another time. So you have to have a mentality of followership as well in order for you to actually create a social influence. If you're always trying to put your perspective into the decision making process, sometimes people may not take you. People may slowly discard you as a leader, in the sense that he or she is always trying to influence us. We don't want to hear his thoughts or hear her thoughts anymore. Let's make our own decisions. And I'm sure you have gone through these type of people who have technically tried very hard, and ultimately it turned out to be like bullying their ideas and thoughts into a decision making process, and that's not good. So in order for leadership influence and social influence, this perspective of follower leader construct has to be strongly looked at. There are other contingency theories which are situational theories connected to contingency specific issues, and then the influencing issues, and then the growth of leadership. So those are also very important issues. We will have a complete set of sessions on these particular leadership issues. We have talked about it in some previous sessions, but we will have very detailed sessions there. So I will leave it for those sessions to grapple with this issue. The next is group norms, social influence, and conformity. Group norms are particular views of a certain group. If you are belonging to a particular group, you will have to connect with their particular perspective and views. You can't be in that particular group and have a different viewpoint. Then you are not part of the group. So sometimes group norms are good, sometimes it's devastating. So you have to realize what type of norms are good and what types of norms will actually create a good influence, social influence, and then you will develop a conformity practice within the norm. Sometimes norms are good, sometimes norms can be very much bad for society. For example, if you have a group norm where you are very ethnocentric, and you feel that a particular ethnic community is going to shape a certain outcome, and without paying attention to the views of any other ethnic community, then that social group norm and the social influence that comes about from it will actually create a particular sticky conformity to this vision, but it will be very much a a bad perspective, because it is blinding to other visions, blinding to other ethnic community. You're completely shutting yourself out from that perspective that others can also contribute. You are thinking at the back of your mind that the people, the particular people of particular ethnicity, are absolutely in the driver's seat to solve this problem. Others will actually follow us only. That will not be a very good group norm set by you. So you have to realize certain group norms are negative, certain group norms can actually create very positive outcomes. So as a leader, you have to create the social influencing process where the group norms are structured in a meaningful, value added, and humanistic uh, perspective, which has equity built into the decision making in the formation of the group norms. And the group development are connected with the group norms. Once you are in a particular sticky group norm kind of situation, you are influencing the community, you're influencing your particular team members, and then the ultimately the sticky development process having very strong norms will be will take place. So you don't want to have a negative group norm that will ultimately create a negative group development process that will destroy the potential of your community, destroy the ultimate potential of the team that you have developed. A team can be very engaging, a team can be very positive, but a team can be very, very negative as well. So if your norms are proper, if your norms are positive, then the team development and the group development will be positive. So we as leaders, as social influencers, as community leaders, you have to pay a very strong attention as to how to shape your social influencing perspectives so that the norms are properly understood and and the norms can actually be a set of responsible norms for society. So moving forward, social identity theory. This is an interesting theory which are connected with your norms and your visions, and within the society, your constructs, the particular mental constructs. So what is social identity theory? Social identity theory introduced the concept of social identity as a way in which to explain intergroup behavior, social motivations, also helps to develop a particular approach to our thought process. So what social identity theory is actually telling us is actually a norm, a concept of social identity. Your identity is your gender, your sex, your education, your family upbringing, the community in which you operate. These are part of your social footprint, social identity. So here social identity theory is suggesting that it is a concept of social identity that you develop as a way to explain intergroup behavior, how you behave with other group people, how you behave with your own community. These are part of your DNA that is designed through your behavioral traits, through your social norms, through your overall orientation in life. So social identity theory has a very strong influencing factor in how you respond in life, how you respond in your professional career, in your political career, etc. So you have to build these identities based on strong values, strong norms, strong group thinks, strong group views, and these are part of your motivation. These are motivation and motivational perspective that is affecting your your role in societies. So these social motivation helps to develop a particular way to our thought processes. So once you have these value system, these motivational perspectives, these social identity perspective, they help us to develop our own thought process and how we build our community, our society, our teams, our own presence as leaders in society. So social identity theory has a very strong and very deep meaning for a leader, and the leader may not directly see it, but these are actually in a particular sense embedded into your DNA, into your behavioral DNA, and then you move in your life having these traits sort of inbuilt within you over a particular period of time. And remember, the social identity theory actually is not talking about a one-off kind of environment. It is a set of situations through which one proceeds in life that actually culminates into the design of your personality, your social motivations, and your behavior towards society and people around you. So, as a professional, as a leader, we have to be very, very thoughtful about what social identity issues that we are connecting to and how we are moving forward in life. For example, just an example, but it can give you a clear picture. Let's say in your adolescent, you grew up meeting with this particular kind of people. You will see that over a particular period, maybe 2 to 3 years, many of the group perspective of that particular community will be rubbed off onto yourself. So your thinking process, your particular way of looking at things will be shaped by the particular views that that community with whom you had been highly associated in your past 2 3 years. It will all rub off into your own personal perspective, your personal views, your personal choices, etc. You will also sort of dress up in a particular way as that community dresses up. So it's very important as to how you shape your own self based on the social identity traits of the community. So as a leader, you have to realize that when you are designing a future for an enterprise, especially when you're a new person into that community, you have to look at the social identity perspective of that community before you engaged in that community, in that organization. And then you have to find a way to, if you want to change that perspective and their particular vision, then you have to find an approach to slowly navigate them out of their previous perspective, previous thought processes. So this is very important. So social identity theory is a shaper, an influencer, and a social influencer for a person, for a community, and society at large. Moving forward, traits and social influences. We talked about it, but there is this issue of leader follower relations. So, a leader, as I mentioned, will have to be a follower at certain times, but leaders have to have a certain capacity that they have to grow within themselves, that most of the time he or she is being followed by others. If you're most of the time a follower, and only on certain times if you're a leader, then people will not call you a leader. They will call you a good trusted aide or a follower. But as a leader, these influences that you bring to your community, the social influences that you bring to the people with whom you work are important, that are connected with your behavioral traits. So a social leader have to have very strong behavioral traits that people can emulate. And when people are emulating your behavioral traits, then you automatically become a leader. So behavioral characteristics and traits are very similar. Characteristics are more your internal perspective. Traits are more your external actions that you show forth in the society. So these two are interlinked, and we need to have both connected in the design of your social influencers in within the community. Social norms and values, we talked about all the values and norms that are connected to you, or the norms and values that are embedded in the society in which you are representing, you are part of it. For example, I am living in Bangladesh, Dhaka. We have a certain value system, certain perspectives that we follow in our community. These values and these perspectives may be slightly different from a value system or perspective, let's say in Middle East, or let's say in Latin America, or let's say in Canada and USA. So you as a leader, you have to understand the social norms and values, and you have to design the future of your community through social changes and influences based on the values and norms. So we have been talking about values and norms quite extensively during this entire process of this leadership session. Why do we do that? Because it's such an important attribute. If your values and norms are disconnect with your values and norms in society, then you will not be a good shaper and leader within the community. And no matter how effective you are in terms of your work ethics, since you don't, leadership is not a one-off kind of situation that you only work yourself and then you produce results. Those are known as specialists. Yes, they're also important in society. You only do your bookkeeping and you're the best in the bookkeeping world. Yes, you're a leader in your particular attribute, in your particular knowledge domain, but you cannot be considered a leader for all people. So you have to build your value system which are in connection with the value system that are operative in your community. And if you want to be a transformational leader, you slowly pick on certain value system and norms and you try to evolve those systems so that ultimately more achievement takes place. You are more success driven by changing certain perspective. But you have to also realize culture is a very tricky and sticky matter, and whatever influences that you want to create, you can't be overtaking aspects of culture. So if you want to change certain culture within your organization, you have to be stepping very carefully and create the footprint slowly so that it does not become something which is anti-climax to what you're suggesting. It has to be something which is slightly different, but it's not a whole lot different. So if it's something which is a whole lot different, then your values and norms will not be ultimately embedded and inputted into your organization. Your value system will not be enshrined within the value system of the organization. So you will not be creating the social influence, and hence you will not have that particular characteristics, the behavioral traits to be a leader. People will not follow you. So this is an important issue that you have to build these influencers slowly and with a strong perspective of perhaps taking a long-term view of changing the system within your organization. And position power we talked about, and the influence. If you're not in a positional power, having the power of, like, let's say the CEO, you can't change a lot of things. You might be a good officer within the middle rank, if, and you have great ideas. You can share your ideas, but it may not be cascaded down to all levels within the organization. Why? You didn't have the social power or the positional power. We are more concerned in the positional power at this point because we're talking about the corporate environment. In the corporate environment, positional power has a very important role to play. So if your positional power and at the same time your social powers are not very strong and sturdy, you cannot create these social influences for the organization to lead. And moving forward, leaders' journey is driven by acceptance. You have to be accepted. The influences that you create, the social influences, that has to be accepted by your community. So acceptance is a very important perspective for you to succeed. Task structure, all the tasks that you create for your organization, these structures have to be manageable, meaningful, and people can easily understand these tasks and follow through the structure. Positional power, we just talked about. You have to have that positional power to guide your people. Team management, the theory X McGregor. Basically, this is an area we will cover in future sessions. But what he is trying to say is that your leadership journey will never be appropriate unless the team management perspective is properly shaped. That means the team structures, the theory X is talking about team structures. The teams have to be properly nourished, properly nurtured, properly addressed, so that an achievement-oriented culture takes place in the organization. So this is the whole idea, that a leader has to have that particular strength. The theory X is actually talking about the team dynamics, the team structure, the storming, forming, norming kind of situation, and then the achievement for the organization actually takes place. So situational issues and actions are also important. A leader's journey is very much connected with particular situations that he or she has to go through. Those are not textbook situations, those are abrupt situations, and a good leader has to navigate through these difficult difficult maze, difficult journey. It's like a all of a sudden a major issue takes place, and if you're a good leader, you will be able to navigate through that difficult situation. If you freeze and if you can't take decisions, others will have to come and start bouncing with new ideas and new decisions, and your positional power will be eroded. Your positional power will be there, but your situational power, your social influencing power will be eroded as a result. So you have to be very careful in life as to be able to navigate through situational issues by being present, being available to lead your team and take actions. So taking actions, maybe some actions may be negative, but in totality, if let's say 60-70% of your actions are positive, then you will be considered as a good leader. So a leader's journey is intricately connected with all of these issues we talked about: acceptance, tax structure, task structure, positional power, the team management, theory X situations, and then ultimately the situational perspectives and the actions that you are taking in terms of your community and your people within your domain. So moving forward, I finish off with a leadership question, $1 million question. So we had actually talked about this in the last session. I've actually kept the same issue because a leader's journey is very much connected with a lot of situational issues, situational perspective. So should a leader be swayed by situational perspective or to take objective decisions only? So this is in connection with today's issue. Today's issue is basically social leadership and social influence. So how should we respond to this question? Should a leader be swayed by situational perspectives or take objective decisions only? I would say it all depends on the situation. I think sometimes you have to make decisions based on the social issues of a particular situation and what merits uh, in that particular situation you have to take. And sometimes you have to go by the books. So it all depends on the capacity and the wisdom and the total understanding of the leader. If the leader has a very clear understanding of the potential issues that may result from taking a particular decision which are not by the books, then the leader has to take an abrupt decision at that point. So we have to be very, very focused on these issues, on what merit you are taking a situational issue, and in what merit you're taking a objective decision. It all depends on the particular issue that is being rolled out in front of you. So you cannot say it is a 50-50 kind of situation. You cannot put a percentage to it. Every situation is different. So as a leader, you have to apply your knowledge, you have to apply your life learning, you have to apply your team building knowledge, and you have to be dealing with a lot of people, get people's feedback on a short notice, and then take your decision. So it can be an objective decision by the book, or it can be a situational decision, which may not be very much in line with your way of thinking previously, but given that particular context, given a particular situation, you have to evolve towards a new decision. And that is the whole issue of a very important leader. A leader has to take very stern decisions at times and then ultimately succeed. So you can't be succeeding 24 hours
every single time, 24/7 kind of situation. You can't succeed all the time, but as long as you succeed most of the time, then you are actually in the journey of a true leader. So with that, I would like to end today's session, and I want to return back to Edward Probe Mondol. So back to you, Edward. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. With that, we conclude our 40th episode, Leadership Speaking Series, Leadership and Social Influence. Thank you very much, Advocate Gio Rahman, for the wonderful session and the important topic that you've already discussed. So, as we know, that Prerona TV, in collaboration with Global Academy of Holistic Leadership and Coaching, so we are committed to provide uh, services to our community by conducting this leadership speaker series. And we are very grateful to Advocate Jia Rahman for your valuable time, your effort, and your experience that you share with us. I think with that, I welcome you for our next session. Will be next week, same time. As we know that we are operating from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and you are welcome to attend our session, which is Mountain Standard Time, Edmonton, Calgary, at 9 p.m. on Wednesday night, 11 p.m. in Toronto, Ottawa, Eastern Standard Time, and in Dhaka, Bangladesh, it is Thursday morning at 9 a.m. And in India, Indian Standard Time, it is 8:30 a.m. on Thursday morning. With that, thank you very much, and stay safe and stay blessed.